Wow, it has been a long time since I've done one of these. I meant to do multiple ones over the course of the year, but I don't think I've done one since February, maybe March, because mostly I was waiting for Wave 5 of Super7's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimates to come out. And they were supposed to release originally back in March, and that was right after I'd done my first I should say my last toy haul video I've done, and I was like, that's right around the corner, so I'll just wait till they show up in the mail. Then I got a message saying they'll be here in April. Okay, I'll do my video in April. Getting a lot of figures that time, there was the haul-a-thon at Target with Neca. I got a ton of Neca stuff. Most of that's been shown off in my room tour video now, including a lot of stuff that had come out previously that I didn't have, like Rat King and the Channel 6 News team and everything. Turtles in the Skies, but okay. April, I get a message saying, in May. They've been delayed to May. I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. Then May comes. May's almost over. They're not here. So I check stores like Big Bad Toy Store and see when they're being estimated for arrival. And it now says July 2022. Well, I'm like, okay, that's the same exact time my Fury Planet Wilderness Hunter Crocker figure is supposed to be coming out. So I was supposed to get that in July also. So, July or August, cool. I'll do, big toy haul with that as well. Then July comes, and understandably the Fury Planet one is delayed because it's like a super small scale company. Like, it's a new line, and even though, it's basically supposed to be Leatherhead, and I'm going to use him as a Leatherhead figure, the Crocker is still like, these are new characters, so it's not like an official license. So it's like, okay, I understand them getting delayed. I actually still have not gotten my Crocker figure. It's still sitting in my pile of loot in Big Bad Toy Store, but they said it hasn't come in yet, so I haven't gotten it yet, even though everyone else seems to have gotten theirs, which is a bit weird. But anyway, July comes. No figures. I check the website, and it says now the estimated arrival date, I believe, is September. Then San Diego Comic-Con comes along, and they say in an interview in there, I believe with Pixel Dan, they say, we will have Wave 5 in fans' hands within the next 6 weeks. Well, that didn't happen. It wasn't until today, October 18th, I think, that I finally received Wave 5 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimates in the mail. And I understand delays happen, I know, but I mean, Wave 6, I already received Ace Duck and Slash prior to getting, way before getting Wave 5. And, they're still waiting for Scratch and Mike the Sewer Surfer to come in. They're not going to be in this video. But it took so long. There was such a big delay on those figures. And when they finally came, let's just say there were some issues. First, though, I want to talk about some Neca stuff I've gotten, because this is actually going to be the first ever all Ninja Turtle toy haul. I don't think I have anything that's not Ninja Turtles. I've gotten plenty of other figures in the past year, like the Loyal Subjects Beetlejuice, which I have a lot of issues with and stuff, but a ton of Motu Origins, but this is going to be all Turtles. All that stuff was shown off in the room tour video. This is going to be all Turtles. That's really all I've gotten recently. Motu Origins I've kind of stopped collecting, to be honest. Like, I'll still pick them up if I see interesting stuff, but like 3 of the lines now haven't come to stores by me. All Targets and Walmart still just have the wave with Sorceress, Buzz Off, Jitsu, and that horrible recolor like Lords of Power Stratos, which is like just Stratos, but he's skin colored, and it's basically just Stratos with less paint. And he doesn't come with at least he could have had the swapped red and blue accessories. He doesn't even come with that, so you don't even get that vintage callback if you want, the red wings and blue harness as opposed to the blue harness, blue wings and red harness. So he's really just a worthless figure. I still haven't picked him up, and I just got so bored of seeing them. Like, we haven't gotten any of the figures since then, the ones with like Sunman and the Stormtrooper and everything, or the Horde Trooper, I should say. And I saw a Sunman 3-pack all over the place in Targets recently, but it's like, what is it, like almost $60? Like, I'm not paying that for Origins figures, for 3 Origins figures. Like, 3 Origins figures normally would be like 35 bucks. Like, why the hell would I pay almost double that just because you put them all in one box? That's just such a ripoff. I can't believe they were charging that much for it, especially since Sunman is such a niche thing. Like, I really don't think those are gonna go flying off of shelves, because even when he was shown off by Mattel on like Instagram and stuff, most of the comments were like, who's this now? Like, a lot of people, yes, now they do know who Sunman is because of the internet and everything. But it is weird to charge that much for something that is so niche. And it's like, I'd like to pick it up. It's cool. I actually prefer the high top fade version of Sunman that's in that 3-pack as opposed to the normal, like Carl Weathers afro he kind of has. And I think the face was less goofy. The regular face on Sunman is kind of goofy, because I know it's like, you know, the original creator, her son's face kind of on this big buff body. So it's kind of like a kid's head on a big buff body, so it's kind of silly. So the fade one, the high top one, I thought was a lot cooler. But I'm not paying like 56 bucks for 3 Origins figures. To be honest, I don't even know where the hell to put it in this room. I'm really running out of space for like big packages. So, I don't know, I've kind of just fallen out of Origins at this point. I have so many of them packaged, but it's like, I don't really bother with them anymore. I've just kind of lost interest in collecting Origins, unfortunately. But I have not lost interest in collecting Turtles, so let's go over some of the stuff I recently got. The Universal Monster Turtles crossovers are all I really have from Neca to show off that were not in the room tour video. The Raphael as Frankenstein's monster was, but I recently also got, what's up? Hey, good boy. Sorry, a friend just came running in here. What's up, good boy? Oh, shut up first. I recently got the Bride of Frankenstein April, which I like. I like that it looks like Judith Hogue. It's actually a really good likeness. It looks a lot like her, and the colors on it are really good. Like I should say the shading is really good. Not really a fan of the knees, but I don't really know how you do bare human knees. My big problem though is that when I got this figure and was taking her out of the package, now I don't know if I just opened figures like a barbarian, but accessories and stuff are like really just, you know, packed in there in these like big blister bubbles now. Like, you're really deep in there. You really gotta beat them out of there. And the microphone broke. I was trying to do it as gently as possible, but the microphone at the top of her big staff thing snapped off. I had to like Gorilla Glue it back on. I had to use super glue to put it back on. And it looked like crap. It looks like crap now. So it's like, that kind of sucks how, like, it's happened a lot. It's happened with Mutagen Man from the Toon line. You know, the like lever brace thing on his elbow just snapped off when he was coming out of the package. My movie Leonardo, his katana blade snapped off when coming out of the package. It snapped in half. And now this one broke. So it's like these NECA figures break a lot. I heard a lot of people, the Toon, Metalhead, the switch on his back snapped coming out of the package. Mine luckily didn't, but I heard a lot of people had that problem. So it's getting pretty old, but it's not just a NECA problem, as I'll describe later on. One thing I have to say, I do really like the overall look of the figure. I do think it's really good. I do kind of feel like, even though it looks just like Judith Hogue, you really can't tell it's April O'Neil. Like, yeah, she has like the, you know, the microphone and all, but she basically just looks like a funny version of the Bride of Frankenstein. She's like a MILF version of the Bride of Frankenstein, is like what she looks like, to be quite honest. It doesn't really look like it's April O'Neil. I think they could have really made the coat more yellow. Like, I know they're trying to do not bright colors on these Universal figures. They're trying to do them very desaturated and grayish and blackish. But I think the yellow coat is really what gives her identity. Like the turtles, I do wish they were brighter also. Like the Raphael is like, his bandana is so dark. It's like basically black. You can barely tell it's red. And on the package, it looks a lot more red, like in the artwork and stuff. So it's like, I just think they could have put a little more colors to make it pop. I get it's supposed to look like the Universal Monsters, but if you're either going to do color or you're not. If you're going to do color, like give us some freaking color. So I feel like they could make some of the identifiable colors for the characters a bit brighter. I mean, the turtles get helped out because they're turtle men, and like the Ninja Turtles have very unique designs. You can instantly tell it's them, even if you don't see the colors. But April O'Neil, it's like, it's just a MILF version of the Bride of Frankenstein. That's all it looks like. So, not the greatest. I got Leo as the Hunchback, which everyone said this, but it's a weird one because it's kind of like, he's clearly supposed to be Fritz from the original Frankenstein. He's the Hunchback lab assistant. He has the brain in a canister and everything, and he has this human skull, and he's just made to be like, you know, a Hunchback lab assistant. But then he has the face, like the facial hair and everything, especially in the artwork on the cover of the package. He has like the face of Bela Lugosi's Igor, and Igor is not a hunchback. He's just a guy with a broken neck. And it kind of seems like he's supposed to look like Igor. But then kind of in how like big and bulky and imposing he is, he's almost like Lon Chaney's Quasimodo. He looks like he's kind of inspired by Quasimodo also. So he's kind of just like a big amalgamation of like Hunchback and lab assistant characters from Universal monster movies. He's not really defined. I do think the Hunchback looks a little weird from the side. He's just kind of like a big potato with like a head on the front. His head doesn't look connected to the body, to me personally. And you know, like usually the idea of these is that it's the Ninja Turtles kind of dressing up, cosplaying, if you will, as like these different characters and monsters and stuff. But Leonardo could in no way fit in this figure with how far apart the arms are and stuff. So it kind of just makes it seem like this isn't actually Leonardo. This is like a different life form who actually is a hunchback. So it's kind of weird in that regard. It's a bit of an odd figure. The storage shell is cool, even though I think it doesn't work quite that well. I think a lot of the spaces for things are like very precise and they don't hold very good and they fall out and stuff. So it's a cool figure, but it's not my absolute favorite. It kind of kills me like OCD wise too, that his box is so much bigger than the other ones in this line, because I just displaying it just looks ugly that it's that big. But I mean, there's no other way they could have packaged this guy, so I get it. Then you have Mike as the Mummy. He's the most simplistic of the Universal Monster Turtles, definitely, but I kind of think he's the best one. I like him a lot. I really like the design on the shell, although like the hieroglyphs and stuff that represent, you know, it almost looks like the Foot Clan logo from the 2003 cartoon, but I think it's actually intended to be the Triceraton logo, because then they have the Retro Foot logo, and they have a turtle and everything, so it's really cool. I really like the Ankh nunchucks. Those are really cool. I really like the gold on them. It's very metallic looking. It looks awesome. Just all the bandages, the paintwork on them, and it's very recognizable as Michelangelo, and I think he's my favorite so far. I'm really looking forward to Donatello as the Invisible Man, but of course Donatello's coming out later because my boy Donnie always gets the last figure in lines. They always hold off on Donnie. You know, April got hers first. I think even the Van Helsing Splinter's coming out before Dawn, maybe not. But the Van Helsing Splinter's kind of weird because he's not dressed like Edward Van Sloan's Van Helsing. From the actual Universal Monster movies. He's dressed like Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing from the 2000s film, which, yes, is Universal, but it's not part of the Universal Monster horror cycle, so it's kind of weird to base it on that version of Van Helsing, especially since in that one he was young, whereas like Edward Van Sloan was older like Splinter, so it's just kind of weird. And they just showed off Casey as the Phantom of the Opera. That's really clever, I think, since, you know, they wear masks, but I knew it was going to be Casey. I didn't know he was going to be Phantom of the Opera, but I knew Casey was going to be there because clearly these are meant to be the movie Turtles. Like, they're very obviously based on the movie Turtles. Splinter looks just like movie Splinter. April's Judith Hogue. Everyone was saying at first, like, oh, those last 2 spots, they're going to be Bebop and Rocksteady. And I was like, I don't think so. They're not. I don't think they're going to do Bebop and Rocksteady. I wish they would, because I would love to see like 1990 style movie versions of Bebop and Rocksteady, like recreations of Bebop and Rocksteady. But it would be weird to do the Halloween ones before even doing regular ones. That's something I really wish they would do with Neca, is like in the movie line, it's just kind of do characters like Bebop and Rocksteady and Rat King and Leatherhead in the style of, you know, what if they appeared in the 1990 movie series. But I think the last one we all know it's gonna be Shredder as Dracula. Of course it's gonna be Shredder as Dracula, because they already made Splinter Van Helsing, and like it's gonna be Shredder. Who else would it be? And he's gonna be Dracula. They're not doing Universal Monsters and not doing Dracula. So especially they're not doing Van Helsing and not doing Dracula. So before we move into Super 7, as I do every year in October now, I last week visited Sleepy Hollow, New York, the town Washington Irving wrote the story about and lived in, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. It's a Halloween tradition of mine. If you want to know more about that, you can go to my video about the Rabbit Ears special VHS tape, Legend of Sleepy Hollow. But there was a street fair going on there, and as I'm walking through the street fair, one tent there is full of retro Masters of the Universe and Ninja Turtles action figures. So I picked some up for a pretty damn good price. I got Kenshin from movie 3, who I did not previously have. I didn't get him with any accessories, but it's like I don't even give a damn about Kenshin. I'm just getting him just to get the characters I don't have. And I actually got a better version of Pizza Face. The Pizza Face I have is really damaged, as I said in my Turtle Talk video, and I was missing his accessories, so I got him with all of his accessories and, you know, better paint, not all scuffed and stuff. And I even got this cool vintage lunchbox, which I, you know, put him in and took him home in. And I got it all for like, what was it, like $30? It was actually a really good deal. I don't even know if it was 30. It was a really, really good deal. But anyway, without any further ado, let's get on to Super 7. Now, I already did some complaining about Super 7, and I do have a bit more to rant about Super 7 coming up. But I received Slash and Ace Duck before getting Wave 5, but let's talk about Wave 5. I hate to start so negatively because, you know, this is a cool looking figure for the most part. Leo the Sewer Samurai, I just got him today. And I have to say, he is my least favorite figure in the entire Super 7 Turtles line. He might even be my least favorite Turtles collector figure I've gotten in the past 3 years. Taking this guy out of the package, or not taking him out of the package, but when I got him out of the package, he has these weird hands like this on, like he's like, you know, mixing CDs or something, mixing records, scratching records. And, I don't know why the hell you'd even want those hands on, but getting those hands off was impossible. I got the worst blisters on my fingers. I don't even know if you can see it. I have a big bump here, a big painful blister. My thumbs are still burning. I did this morning, but my thumbs are still burning. My blisters are burning on my pointer fingers. It was such hell trying to get those out. One of them I eventually got out because they made them like the pegs that go in this wave are like ribbed. For some reason, the plugs that go into the arms, I know that sounds very dirty, but yes, they ribbed them for some reason. So it makes them like impossible to get out on this figure. These little thin pegs, but they have all these little ribs, so they get stuck. The second one, when I was trying to pull it out, I could not get it out for the life of me. I was like destroying my hand. And when I finally thought I got it out, I looked down and realized the whole hand came apart and the peg was still stuck in the hole and I broke the hand. So the hand's damaged. I have a broken hand. So I tried prying it out. I tried like sticking things in the hole next to it, thumbtacks and stuff, and prying it out, and I could not get the peg out. The peg's in there for good. So I'm like, okay, I have a Leonardo missing one hand. So what I did is I just, you know, bent the peg on one of the grasping hands and super glued it to the wrist. it's garbage. I can't move his wrist now. It's stuck in that position forever. But he has a hand, at least. Even getting the hands in the hole was hard because of the rib design they made. I cannot stress how furious I was that this thing was breaking and falling apart and ripping my hand to pieces. That it took over 1.5 years to get. Like, it took forever to get here. And then when it got here, it's breaking and it cost a shit ton of money. Like, it cost a ton of money. These figures are not cheap. Super7 charges you a fortune for these figures. And the legs are wobbly in week 2. They're super weak. You can barely get them standing because the legs are super weak. I will say, at least, Wave 6 seems to have fixed that. A-Stuck and Slash have very sturdy legs. Their hips are not all, like, wobbly like the other ones. The other ones had Elvis pelvis, and it was freaking horrible. Yeah, so this figure just falls apart. And then it's like this flag that he has, the Sewer Samurai flag. It doesn't even, like, stay together. It just falls apart all the time. The cloth just falls off the pegs all the time. It's not sized properly. It's not shaped properly. The gold, it's not even so much that it's not vac metalized. Like, the original figure was not vac metalized. It's not that, it's just that it's such a dull looking gold. I really wish it was darker. The original one had that very dark, coppery kind of like war armor looking gold. Whereas this just has this really bright, pale, bland, just horrible looking gold. And, yeah, I had so many problems with this figure that I hated it by the time I was done. And the colors as a whole, I think even like the design of it is, he's not bulky enough. He looks a bit too scrawny. I think like the pads and everything should be bigger to make him look a bit more like, you know, imposing. The original one looks like very imposing. He's very like hunched and like, you know, squat and big and he's just covered in sheets of armor. This one, he looks really skinny and he just has like little patches here and there because they blew up the size of the figure, but they didn't blow up the size of the armor with him to fit him. So I think he looks a little scrawny. He doesn't look that imposing. The blue is like weirdly bright. The red is really dull. The gold looks like crap. The green on the accessories, like on the handles of the swords, is just this matte green. It doesn't look like anything. It doesn't match the murky green that's used everywhere else, like on the sheath and the flagpole and his shell and everything. It's just weird. Like the shield, I don't really like the colors. I just don't really like this figure very much. I love the new head sculpt with the mask, but that figure pissed me off so much that it just ended up being my least favorite figure in the whole line. Then taking Krang out, his little tripod thing broke coming out of the blister bubble. One of the legs broke off. I had to glue that back together. And the legs on Krang, as I already knew because people were saying this, are extremely wobbly and weak, and they're really bad at keeping him up. He has like no support. But I do really, really like the Krang figure beyond that. I do like that they did give him a really metallic silver all over his body, because I know that's not accurate to the original, but I kind of like these to be a little different, like plus the original. That's kind of like anytime they come with an alternate head, I use the alternate head, because I just don't want them to look like the vintage. I already own the vintage figures. I want something different. So I kind of like when they plus them and they add stuff like that, like metallic look to something that's clearly supposed to be machinery. Leatherhead is awesome. I like him a lot more than I thought I was going to like that figure, because, you know, he didn't look quite as big as I thought he should be when I was seeing people's reviews, but when you get him in hand, you really realize just how ginormous he really is. And he's really freaking huge, and that's great, because that was my big complaint about the original Leatherhead figure in the Playmates line. Why was he so tiny? So I really like that they made him really big. I really like the fishing pole accessory. He doesn't stand very good because they gave him like this, I get he's an alligator, but he has this humongous head and kind of a scrawny body. He looks like a bobblehead, kind of like they did with Rocksteady, where I think they do that a bit too much in the Super7 line. They just make the head really big. They sculpt the head first, and then it seems like someone else sculpted the body, and they didn't, like, you know, they didn't actually cooperate with each other and figure out how it was going to fit together. So it just ends up with this big, ridiculous bobblehead and tiny body. But in general, I do really like the Leatherhead figure. He looks really good. The star, by far, I kind of knew he was going to be somehow, but Ray Fillet is awesome. I have zero complaints about the Ray Fillet figure. That one's just great. I love the way he looks. I love the way Fish Sticks looks. I love anchor he comes with and everything. I already mentioned in my Turtle Talk video that Fish Sticks is a suicide bomber, but I've noticed a lot of reviewers are kind of just acknowledging that for the first time. Not trying to brag or anything, but I always noticed that about him. I always noticed that's why he's called Fish Sticks, because he has sticks of dynamite strapped to him. But yeah, that is perfect. I think the Ray Fillet one is perfect. That is exactly what I want from Ultimates. It's stocky, it's big, it's got a bunch of dry brushing on it, a lot of shading. It just looks like a plussed version of the vintage figure. Whereas even like Leatherhead, as much as I love him, there's really no deco on the skin. It's just flat, like Crayola green. And I kind of wish he had like, you know, some dark scales, some light scales and stuff, a little bit of dry brushing on the belly or something to kind of like make him look a bit more like a gator and plus him a bit more, you know, like the vintage figure was all green because it was, you know, $4. This one costs a lot more than that, over 10 times that much. So I wish he was plussed a little more. But then we have Wave 6 coming, and Slash is fantastic. Slash is amazing. You know, he comes with a ton of accessories, and most of them fit on his belt. You know, he's a heck of a figure. He's a beast. I've got like a ton of stuff there, grenades, nunchucks, or nunchaku, whatever you want to say. He's got throwing stars that fit on his belt and everything, shurikens. He's just a giant, massive ball of a figure. He's a beast of a figure.
The only complaint I really have with the figure, it's not a major one, but it's more prominent on the base head than it is the alternate head, which is a shame because the base head is cooler, even though I will use the alternate just because I like to, you know, mix up the appearance of my figures. But the thing I don't like is, you know, that Slash's most iconic feature is probably his bulging eye, his big yellow bulging eye. And you look at the vintage figure and it's like, it's still angry. It looks like crazy. He looks like insanely pissed. He looks like he's raging. He's like steaming, you know, he's just so angry. In the new one, the way they put the crease of like the brow, he doesn't look angry anymore. He has like kind of this sad or lazy kind of eye now. And it makes him look more like Quasimodo or like a hunchback character, you know, like that. Like kind of some like, you know, someone with a deformity or something. And it doesn't look as cool. The original one looked like he was freaking out. He was just yelling with anger. And this one kind of just looks like his mouth is hanging open and he's kind of like, "Ugh." So I don't know. I don't really like that change. I think it's a minor change. I haven't heard anyone else really talk about, but I think it's a pretty major change that does a lot to his physical appearance, because that's like one of the most iconic things about the vintage figure is his facial expression. And if you ruin the facial expression like that, it drastically changes it. And it really kills all the personality of the original figure. So for me personally, I think the eye is unfortunately a pretty big problem. It takes down the look of the figure a lot for me, but it's still a fantastic figure.
The spikes on his shell are actually really sharp, so be careful. But Slash should be. He's Slash. So I think a lot of people complained about the color on Slash. I don't have a problem with it. I actually like that he's dark. I think it makes him look a little more intimidating. It makes the other colors pop a little bit more. Originally I didn't really like that he had the mustard colored belly, like, you know, the darker colored belly, because I always, as a kid, had the neon bellied Slash. But in person, I really like the dry brushing and the texture on it and stuff, so I actually prefer that they gave him that in this one. And I like that the belt is half pink, half black, so it's like the best of both worlds. Depending on what belt you had, both are represented. So I always had pink belt, so it's cool to have that. Then there's Ace Duck. I really like this head sculpt with the cigar and the goggles and everything. Well, the goggles are separate, but they go best with this head sculpt. I really like the Tommy gun. I really like the way they did his wings. I really like his feet. I think the only problem on it is, so people have said this, everyone's saying this, but the colors are wrong. The really pale yellowish brown they used for his jacket and the bandolier and his helmet and his hat, it's so close to like his skin color's feather color. But then the the orange of his beak and his feet is so similar to that yellow also. Like all three of those colors kind of just bleed into each other. And in the vintage figure, he not only had a darker jacket, like a much darker jacket, and a much more orange bill and everything and feet than he does here. There was much more distinction between his colors. But also the hat and the bandolier actually were like a murky greenish kind of brown. They weren't really like brown at all. They were kind of like a yellowish, goldish, greenish kind of color. And here they just made them the exact same brown as his jacket. So the bandolier just bleeds into the jacket and stuff. So the colors are really boring on this Ace stock. And unfortunately, he doesn't pop with that color scheme at all. He just kind of melts away into the background of your shelf and nobody will notice him. I know some people have complained about how small he is. Personally, I'm fine with that. He's a duck. I don't think every character needs to be a hulking monster. I think it's nice to have some smaller ones, and it's usually cool to have the heroes be a bit smaller usually, and then have the villains be huge. But yeah, he's okay. I'm really looking forward to Mike the Sewer Surfer and Scratch showing up. But yeah, I mean, Wave 5 was such a disappointment. From Super7. I'd say without a doubt, it was the most disappointing wave so far because those figures they were just falling apart coming out of the package, and they took like a year and a half to get here, and it's like, you know, you're paying so much money for these figures. I love the figures Super7 makes, but it's really getting hard not to just like, you know, have a bit of a negative outlook towards them now, because this past year they have not done themselves that many favors. They take so long to get product out, and I get it takes a while, but they announce stuff so early. I know it's made to order, that's how they have to do it, but it just takes so long, and they're just delaying and delaying and delaying. And there's even stuff like Silverhawks where like I don't think they even know if they have the license anymore. But yeah, they're just constantly showing more. Here's more stuff to pre-order, and it never comes out. And when it does come out, after all this time you waited, it's cheap and it's breaking and brittle, and the legs are wobbly and it doesn't stand very well. And you know, they put it in like $20 packaging. That's like, I don't need that. You can just put it in a box. I don't need packaging that costs more than the freaking figures just to inflate the price of the figure more. And you know, the prices of Ultimates have jumped. They used to be like $40. They're like $54 now a piece. And then there's even some like in Wave 7 coming up, Gorilla is like $70 something. And I get that he's a big hulking figure and he has big elaborate accessories, but so was like the metallic robotic Bebop and Rocksteady, and they're humongous and they come with a ton of accessories, big accessories, and they're the same price as anyone else. So I don't really get like what it is about Gorilla that you know justifies him being $20 more than a regular figure. It doesn't make sense to me. They never make them cheaper. Ace Duck wasn't cheaper for being smaller, so it's not really fair to just like, oh, here's 20, you're going to have to pay $20 more for this one figure. I don't know if it's like a licensing thing. Like it took a lot to get that license. Like, well, there was no demand for Gorilla. There wasn't even a demand for Sergeant Bananas, let alone Gorilla. So let's talk about Wave 7. Wave 7's a bit iffy. Wave 8, I have some major problems with. Wave 7 is one of the upcoming waves. It has Punkerdon, which is strange that they were doing the Turtles in Disguise wave up until then. You know, they did Sewer Samurai Leo, Sewer Surfer Mike, and then they do Raph the Space Cadet after Punkerdon. But then they did Undercover Raph, where he comes with the trench coat and the fedora, and he has like a briefcase and everything. And it's like, well, that's Donatello's Turtles in Disguise figure. So it's kind of weird that, of course, Donatello gets the fourth one because he got the fourth one in the regular Turtles, gets the fourth one in, you know, secondary versions of Turtles. But why does he get the rock and roll set? That's so weird. So he's Punkerdon, which is cool. It looks really cool. I like the alternate heads they're making, but it's just kind of weird. Then we get Triceraton, which is good. Very hyped for him. We get Gorilla, which is the one I'm the most hyped for, because to be honest, I just think of that as Sergeant Bananas. That's actually what I wanted from this line originally, was kind of reimaginings of the characters where they don't look just like big versions of the retro figures. Because my idea was like, I have the retro figures already. Originally, I wasn't even planning to, collect the Super 7 line, because I was like, I already own all these. I don't need big versions of them. But when I saw them in person, I'm like, okay, these are pretty cool. And I started getting them. But I actually really like that he looks totally different from the vintage Sergeant Bananas. I'll just call him Sergeant Bananas. He has a really cool design. If anything, he kind of looks a little bit like Tracy from the Ghostbusters, the Filmation one. But he looks really cool. I'm actually really excited about that figure. It's a shame he's like $70 freaking dollars. Crazy to put a down payment on him. It costs as much as a mortgage. But he is a cool figure. I'm most excited about him. Then we have Robotic Bebop, and it's like, I know technically it's not Bebop. It's a different thing that Krang built. It's not actually Bebop, but it's like, it's basically an alt of Bebop. And it's like, we already have Bebop and Rocksteady. We're already getting an alt of the Turtles in every single wave. We only get 4 figures a wave. Do we need an alt of Bebop and Rocksteady already? We don't even have the Rat King yet. Like, Rat King is, after like Bebop, Rocksteady, Shredder, Krang, and Baxter Stockman, he's like the villain. He's in every iteration of the Turtles. So it's like, how could you not have Rat King? We don't have Rat King. We don't have Fugitoid. We don't have a lot of like really cool figures that I want, like Worm or Pizza Face or Hothead or something. But we have Robotic Bebop, and he's not vac metalized, and that was like the only thing that was cool about the Robotic Bebop and Rocksteady. I have the vintage ones back here, and it's like, that's what's cool about them. They're all vac metalized. You take that away, and they're just kind of boring figures. So I don't know. They came later in the line. They're not particularly nostalgic for me. I didn't have them as a kid. I don't think I even knew about them as a kid. Maybe I did. I don't remember. It just seems weird. Like, that's kind of a boring one. And then on top of that, they did like this bonus figure that's like Metalhead repainted like Michelangelo, which is like, I guess that's cool, but why? Like, why would you do that? Why would you make another robotic version of a character in a wave that already has a robotic version of a character and a turtle variant? It's like, we have a turtle variant, we have a robotic version of a character, and then we have a robotic turtle variant. So it's like, it's just overkill. So I'm not super interested in Wave 7, but Wave 8, oh my God. Wave 8 looks terrible. So we instantly get Robotic Rocksteady. And it's like, I didn't even really want Robotic Bebop, and now we're getting Robotic Rocksteady. We get Raph, the Space Cadet, which is cool. He looks cool. Genghis Frog is definitely the standout. He looks amazing. It's about time we got him. Still no Rat King. Still no Fugitoid. But then we get Shredder. And I know what you're thinking. We got Shredder already, right? Yes, we did. But for some reason, we're getting him again, and it's the exact same figure. On 100%. They just painted all the blue parts silver, and they're just making him part of the line. He's not a bonus figure. He's not an add-on. He's not like glow-in-the-dark Mutagen Man. He is part of this wave. So on one note, it's good. I don't have to pay for the whole wave, but it's like, I am not getting that figure. What a waste. Why couldn't we just get Rat King or something? I don't know why they did that. That is just the cheapest scam I've ever seen. Like, you're just recycling a figure you already made money off of over a year ago. Like, give us something new. So Wave 8 is extremely disappointing, and unfortunately just Super 7 just seems to be getting a bit more and more disappointing as time goes on. Don't get me wrong, I still love them. I still am going to keep collecting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles line. But, I'm not as psyched about them as I used to be. They look great. I love, my room has been plussed a lot since I got the new figures, but I'm just not as excited for them as I used to be because they just let me down a lot. I think the biggest letdown they did was, yeah, they're not mandatory figures. I'm never buying them. They're just con exclusives, but they did the wave of glow-in-the-dark turtles. It's just the 4 turtles, the basic figures they've already released. Raph, Leo, Mike, Don. But they're molded in glow-in-the-dark plastic, and their belts are colored like their headbands. And a lot of their weapons are molded in glow-in-the-dark plastic, which I think looks weird, because the weapons aren't supposed to be green, so it's kind of weird looking, but whatever. There's no new accessories, it's the same accessories, just now molded in glow-in-the-dark plastic, and they're charging $10 more per figure. They are over $60. They're about 64, 65 bucks a pop for 100% recycled figures. The exact same molds we already have. It's the exact same Raphael, just different colors. So it's like, it's kind of ridiculous for someone to be paying $65 for a figure they already bought for like $42 a year or two ago. And like the explanation they gave as to why, because you know they had to address it in an interview once. I saw a guy from Super7 get asked, why do they cost so much more than your regular Super7 figures? Is this going to be the new price? He says no, it's not going to be the new price of Ultimates, which is good, because if they went up that much, I think most of us would stop collecting. He's like, oh, you know, it's something about the pigment. The material that gives you that glow-in-the-dark look has shot up in price. It's way more expensive than it used to be. Now it's like 5 times what it used to cost. And this is the only way we can sell these figures and make money off of them in any way, shape, or form. And it's like, okay, yeah, I understand you're struggling and all, but why the hell did you make 4 glow-in-the-dark figures then? If you knew that it was so much more expensive to do this now, so much more pricey for you to produce, and that you would have to add $10 to it, why would you do it? They did it because somehow they're making a lot of money off of this, and they're not making any new sculpts, so they're just reusing old molds. It's like a complete just free win for them. Like, I understand that glow-in-the-dark pigment is super expensive, but if a material is super expensive, then don't use that material at this time. Like, you could have done something else. You could have done a different gimmick. You didn't need to do glow-in-the-dark. They only did glow-in-the-dark because they could charge more for it. That's just irresponsible toy making in my mind. If you know that something is unrealistically expensive to use at the moment, then don't use it. Don't make 4 figures that are made out of that material. And it's also weird though, because they're also simultaneously, you know, putting out like glow-in-the-dark foot soldier and glow-in-the-dark this and glow-in-the-dark that. And I don't think any of the other ones cost more than a regular figure. It seems like it's only the 4 turtles. They also showed off their party wagon, which costs like, holy crap, like what is it, like $500 something or whatever it was. And it's like, I'm not spending that much. I'm not getting the party. I don't have room for a party wagon for Super7. That'd be way too big. If I'm going to get a party wagon, I'm just going to get the vintage one back, because I don't have my vintage one from when I was a kid anymore. I would love to get the vintage one back at some point. I'm not getting the Neca one. I know there's the third-party one. That one looks nice, too. Super7's does look the nicest, I won't lie. Like, it does look really good, but it's just not worth, like, $500 for a vehicle that I don't even have room for, and it's like, Super7 I don't really get the extra stuff. I don't get the glow-in-the-dark figures. I didn't get the Mouser pack that costs just as much as a new figure for like 3 repeat Mousers that you already got. One from Baxter. It's the exact same Mouser. And then they have 2 battle damage ones, which is like 90% the same Mouser with like some little painted details on it and a different sculpted head with some holes in it. And a few other accessories, which are really all just repeat accessories we already had. It's the same turtle that came with Splinter, and even then they don't give you 3, I think they give you 2, so like even if you wanted all of the baby turtles, they make you have to buy that pack twice if you want to get all of them. It's like, it's just a sucker pack. You know, army building would be cool. I'd love to have Mousers all over my display, but I'm not spending like, what would that be, like $110 or something just to get, you know, 2 packs of Mousers. I'm good. I got a Mouser with Baxter Stockman. That's all I need. I'm not getting the Mouser pack. I'm not getting glow-in-the-dark foot soldier. I haven't even gotten the undercover Raph yet, because it's mostly just the regular Raph. They just threw a soft goods like cloak on him. I might get that one eventually. You know, a lot of these figures that, like, it just seems like Super 7 figures are on Big Bad Toy Store forever. They never sell out. They never go away. So it's like I could just get it at some point in Big Bad Toy Store probably. Yeah, I don't know, that just Super 7, they've been doing a lot I don't like recently. You know, Neca, I still have my problems. I still think they push out too much product too fast. Like, they put all of them out all at once. I mean, when Haulathon happened earlier this year, back in like the spring or winter, whenever, I think it was April, there was just like, you know, Robotic Bebop and Rocksteady, or Super Bebop Mighty Rocksteady, or the other way around, whatever it is. Toka and Razar, Toon ones, which I still haven't found, actually. They're the only 2 ones I'm missing right now. Pre-orders for the 3-pack of Neutrinos, pre-orders for Usagi Ojimbo, pre-orders for Smash and Zack, pre-orders for Rock Soldier, Infantryman, and Crooked Ninja Turtle Gang Guy, which actually I have not shown off in this video. I'll cover them in a second, but I did get those. Actually, now that I think about it, I did not show those guys off in a video yet. They were not in my room tour. But yeah, they did those. What else was there? There was like tons of other stuff. If you missed it, that's when they brought back the Channel 6 News team. That's when they brought back Rat King. They brought back a bunch of stuff. Mondo Gecko. They did Glow in the Dark Buckman and Joe Eyeball at that time. They did Beastman and Laird Fugitoid, like Mirage Fugitoid. They did the pre-orders for the Secret of the Used Turtles, Secret of the Used Shredder, the Party Wagon, the Turtle Van. They did like... It was just so much stuff. For Turtles alone, oh, they did the Style Guide 4-pack. Like, for Turtles alone, it was like, if you actually got all that stuff at that time, it's like over $1,000 probably. I didn't get all of it. And it's like all in 1 month. And that's not even counting all the other things they put out, like Gremlins figures and stuff also. So it's like, they put out so much stuff all at once. Then they went months with nothing. And now coming up, it seems that there's going to be another storm, because there's some more NECA stuff I need to talk about after my Super 7 rant, so stay tuned for that. There's something that must be discussed. But NECA just has no consideration for, you know, the fans. They just keep pushing stuff out, and they don't care if you can afford it or not. And simultaneously, they're making jokes about, like, oh, and you're going to have to, you know, cough up some cash out of your mother's basement, you basement-dwelling weirdo. And it's like, just insulting their fans, basically. It's like, that's not how you win people over. That's not how you get people. You can't simultaneously ask people to spend thousands of dollars on your fucking toys and then call them like losers who live in their mom's basement at the same time. Like, that's just not how it works. Yeah, but, you know, NECA, they're pretty consistent. They put out a lot of good stuff. You know, I'm not going to crap on them too much. I think Super 7's figures look way nicer than NECA's usually. NECA, when they're doing, like, the movie figures and the Universal Monster figures and stuff, top notch. I still think their Razar and Toka are some of the best Turtles figures to come out in the past, like, 4 years. But in general, I like Super 7's better. I never had a Super 7 figure break until today. But yeah, NECA, overall, I think the prices are better. Generally their interactions with their fans are better. Their supply and demand is better. Just the whole way they you know, market themselves is better, I think. But they both have their problems, and they're both awesome in their own right. So I'm not gonna hate on them too much, but just an example of how my opinions on Super 7 have kind of changed, and NECA. In the past, you know, Super 7 put out this thing recently about they're going to do ultimates for Jack Skellington, Sally, and Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas next year. And I was like, okay, I got to get those. I love Nightmare Before Christmas, and these look amazing. But now, recently, with the 31 Nights of Halloween, NECA has shown off they're doing Jack and Sally ultimates. And they look really spot on from the teaser image they showed. And I'm like, the NECA ones are going to be way cheaper, probably just look just as good, and probably come out sooner. So I'm probably just going to go with the NECA ones, honestly. I might pass on the Super 7 ones. I'll see. But that's just kind of how I am now. Like, in the past, if Super 7 was going to do something that NECA was doing, I was looking forward more to the Super 7 one. But now, Super 7, like I said, I still love them, but they burned me a few times now, to the point where it's like, I'm not as faithful as I used to be. So anyway, Neca. Actually, before I jump into Neca real quick, last thing I want to say about Super 7, I forgot to say about Ace Duck, is also on this color, I'm not a big fan of the gray they used for his gun and his goggles. I wish it was like a dark, metallic-y, like gunmetal kind of color. It's just this pale, dull gray, which again just adds to the dull color scheme of him. But anyway, Neca. So I don't have much to say about Smash and the Crooked Ninja Turtle Gang guy. They look amazing. They look dead on the way they should look from the cartoon. I love those figures. They're really cool for just like boring human characters. They're really good. Zack the Fifth Turtle, he's perfect. He looks like Zack. He's everything he needs to be. It's the usual like kid kind of figure, like young human kind of figure, like the neutrinos where they have the dinky little hands and stuff, so it's hard to get them to really pose sometimes, but it's a good figure and it looks like how he should. Rock Soldier Infantryman, I don't like the neck. It looks like they just reused Granitor's neck, but Granitor has like a long thin neck. I don't remember the Rock Soldiers having these long thin ostrich necks in the cartoon. And it just doesn't match. Like, they're these big, bulky, intimidating looking guys, but then he just has this really skinny, long neck, just like this pencil neck, and it doesn't work with the character design. My other problem with the Rock Soldier is, in general, I don't think he looks that good, and the details are a little ugly on him. But he fell over, he fell over when I was first posing him. Not like he fell off the shelf and like fell, 10 feet or anything. It's like, no, he just fell forward on a shelf and one of his knuckles just completely scraped off. Like you can see on his hand, he has these like dark rocks on his knuckles. Originally I had his gun in the opposite hand and the other hand had the fist, but when that fist hit the shelf, it just chipped off a big chunk of the hand, and I just swapped the hands because I'm like, okay, well that hand's damaged. So another figure breaking out of the package. But aside from that, good figures. But the thing that I need to talk about, so my biggest request for NECA figures in every video I've done for the past 3 years was I could not wait for Mona Lisa's figure in the Toon line for Ninja Turtles for NECA, because we never got a Toon accurate Mona Lisa figure. And as I've stated in videos before, I had a major crush on Mona Lisa when I was a little kid. I was obsessed with that character. She's always had a special place in my heart. So, everyone always knows, like any nerd knows that first childhood waifu, that's the strongest waifu. Those are her and Ariel. I'll always have a special place for them in my heart. So, they're making her. They're finally making her. For years, every time New York Toy Fair came out, every time they showed off new figures, I was always crossing my fingers like, Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa, please, please, please. A lot of fans were asking for her. For some reason, it seems like Viacom or Nickelodeon, whoever, just does not like doing Mona Lisa. Anytime they do bring her back, they have to drastically change her into something completely different. She's just Mona Lisa in name. Like don't get me started on the 2012 show. But anyway, we're finally getting Mona Lisa. I'm finally getting that figure. I'm super excited. She has an alt head. It's already been shown, so I might have to get 2 of her so I can display both. But I hate to say this, but the figure looks pretty bad. NECA is pretty notorious. I mean, toy companies as a whole are pretty notorious for giving female characters bad figures. I've complained about this even in the vintage line, in my Turtle Talk videos. They always just get these really skinny, scrawny, crappy, weak, frail, boring figures. And that's kind of what they're doing with Mona Lisa. And it's, April, they gave her like a bobblehead and everything. She looked ridiculous in their line. And Mona Lisa kind of looks the same way, where her head is too fat for her skinny body. She looks like a lollipop. And that's really not what Mona Lisa looked like in the cartoon. Like, she wasn't like ultra voluptuous, but it's like, she had some meat on her. Like, her arms were like, they were like a little meaty. Like, she didn't have pipe cleaner arms. She had like, somewhat thick arms. and stuff. She was a little thicker, and for the figure, she's a pencil. Especially like her arms, her neck and arms and torso and all are so skinny and small compared to her head that it just looks weird. She's so petite, and she really wasn't in the cartoon. So that kind of bothers me. Also, it's hard to do like what is essentially a naked woman as an action figure, a highly articulated action figure, because the knees are gonna look weird. The arms are gonna look weird. The articulation's gonna look weird because she's supposed to be a naked human body essentially, but a lizard. So you just really notice all those joints and stuff and cuts and stuff, and it just looks. Her arms look like terrible. They just look terrible from what I've seen. So I'll wait until she comes out. I'm assuming she should be coming out soon. She comes within a 2-pack with Dirk Savage, which he's cool, but to be honest, I don't personally really give a damn about Dirk Savage. I didn't see that episode as a kid. I think it's a weird combination too. I know they're doing a 2-pack of Lotus Blossom, who actually, Lotus Blossom I find to be somewhat of a boring character. She actually has a pretty great looking figure. As far as female figures go, she has the best looking female figure in the Neca Toon line from what I've seen so far. But they put her in a 2-pack with this evil spirit character from an episode she's in. And I guess that pairs better. But originally my top 5 were a 2-pack of Mona Lisa and Lotus Blossom to finish, the love interests. A 2-pack of Merdude and Ray, the spin-off from Ray Fillet they had in the cartoon. And an ultimate of Rex 1. We are getting 3 of those characters. We are getting Rex 1 as an ultimate, which I cannot wait for. That's going to be so cool. But we are not getting Ray and Merdude, which I think is a shame, because Merdude was in the cartoon, and he's such a cool design, he's such a cool character, and he's just never getting any love these days. And Ray, I mean, he's such a unique, everyone remembers Ray. He was such a weird idea. Everyone was like, how is this Ray Fillet back in the day? So I really think we should get him, but it doesn't seem like they want to give us him. But at least we're getting Mona Lisa, but I hate to be negative about it because I've been asking for years for them to make Mona Lisa. But I will get her, obviously. Like, there's no way in hell I will not get a Mona Lisa figure. I'll get at least one. But we'll see. I really hope to be surprised when the figure actually comes out and end up really liking it, because from what I've seen of the images so far, on the back of the package and the little videos we saw, she doesn't look that great. That's really a bummer, because I hate to be hyping this up and act like I want this so much. I need this, and then when they give it to me, I'm like, I don't like it. But again, we'll see. We'll see how it is when it comes out. But anyway, that's my toy haul. Sorry for all it was mostly ranting. It wasn't so much showing off the toys as it was me just ranting about Neca and Super7. But I've wanted to do videos ranting about them for a while anyway, so there you go. More videos coming soon. I appreciate that all of my subscribers have stuck with me. Since this month, I have just been putting out a bunch of horror movie stuff. And I know most of my subscribers do not give a damn about my horror movie stuff. It seems like most people do not like my horror movie videos. So I appreciate that people still stick with me, even if I'm putting up a lot of content they don't care about. When Halloween's over, we'll go back to doing the more typical kind of content, more action figures and nerdy kind of content stuff. So tune in, stay tuned, whatever. Keep watching. Do all the liking and subscribing and the sharing and the bell stuff.